Why is the forest majestic, lush, dense, immortal, without a single gram of NPK, while your garden rots without the chemicals you buy every week? Think about that for a second. Forests that have existed for millennia. No fertilizer bags, no magnesium capsules, no nutrition label approved by any regulatory agency. And yet, a biological intelligence so complex that our best computers still cannot fully map it. Now, look at your vegetable garden, at your table. At the supplement bottle, you pay a lot for every month, and that runs out before the year ends. The question nobody is asking out loud, the question the market has every interest in silencing, is this: who profits from your forgetting? Today, you will receive a dossier, a botanical technology of zero cost, which was systematically erased from modern manuals, not by accident, not by scientific negligence, but by deliberate economic design. Its name is Chenopodium album, and it is growing probably right now, silent and patient, in your backyard, waiting for someone to recognize it. Let me show you the most profitable chemical swindle in the recent history of nutrition. In 2024, the global magnesium supplement market moved more than $1.2 billion. Capsules, powders, transdermal sprays, chelates, bisglycinate, oxides, citrates, an entire taxonomy of products created to solve a deficiency that, if you stop and think with genuine technical honesty, is statistically absurd: widespread magnesium deficiency. In a species that evolved for 300,000 years, eating directly from the earth, with no intermediary, no laboratory, no barcode, the problem is not biological. The problem is architectural. Modern soil is, in the terminology I will use from here on, a biological ICU. It survives artificially, connected to chemical IV drips that must be replenished every cycle. The synthetic nitrogen in urea forces the plant to grow fast, but not to build with depth. It is like injecting amphetamine into a child and calling it education. The plant grows, yes, but its metabolic armor has been compromised from the root. Its tissues have lower mineral density. Its leaves are aesthetically perfect and nutritionally hollow. A pretty product for a well-lit supermarket shelf, not for a body that needs to function. And here is the data the industry does not publicize on any label. Comparative studies published in food science journals have shown that conventionally grown vegetables reach the market with up to 40% fewer minerals than the same vegetables grown 50 years ago. 40%. You are not eating less spinach. You are eating spinach that is worth less, and paying more for it. The redox potential of living soil was replaced by the profit potential of the shelf. The microbiota that mediated between the raw mineral in the soil and the plant cell was destroyed by successive cycles of herbicide and synthetic fertilizer. What remains is a land that no longer knows how to communicate, and a plant that no longer knows how to nourish itself, and at the end of the chain, a human body that turns to supplementation to replenish what nature always offered for free. Now imagine that buried in ethnobotany manuals and in the archaeological records of civilizations that never needed a pharmacy, there existed a plant with an absolutely extraordinary mineral absorption capacity. A plant that operates like the software of nature. It installs itself, updates itself, replicates itself, reads soil conditions, and responds with a chemical composition that the most expensive laboratory in the world still cannot fully synthesize. Imagine that this plant was classified as a weed, not because it is harmful, because it is too profitable for those who do not sell it. Chenopodium album. Family Amaranthaceae, known in Brazil as Ansarinha branca or quinoa branca, in the United States, lambsquarters, in India, batua, in Nepal, betu, in Turkey, akiren, in Mexico, quelite. 320 million people, spread across 4 continents, still eat it regularly. The industrialized West sprayed it with herbicide and buried it in agricultural pest manuals. Let me give you the technical profile of this plant, as it is recorded in documents that agribusiness does not put in the curricula of agricultural universities. Magnesium. Chenopodium album contains 5 times more magnesium than conventional spinach. 5. If you were searching for a vegetable repository of bioavailable magnesium, you could spend decades browsing the market without finding anything comparable to what grows spontaneously at the edge of your wall, without irrigation, without inputs, without cost. Vitamins: it surpasses spinach and kale in vitamins A, C, B1 and B2. Its vitamin profile is that of an off-the-shelf multivitamin, except it has no packaging, no brand, no expiration date manufactured in a factory, and no profit margin built into the price. Protein: the seeds carry between 16% and 19% crude protein. For comparison, corn has between 8% and 10%. Wheat between 10% and 14%. Chenopodium album competes directly with commercial quinoa, its domesticated cousin, repackaged and repositioned for the gourmet market at a price 400% higher, with a marketing campaign capable of turning an Andean grain into a symbol of dietary status. Bioavailability: the secret of natural chelation. Here is the technical point that sets this plant apart from other mineral-rich vegetables. Spinach is relatively high in oxalates, compounds that chemically bind to calcium and magnesium before the intestine can absorb them, forming crystals that pass through the body without ever truly entering it. Chenopodium album presents a significantly more favorable oxalate-to-mineral ratio, which means the minerals that enter through your mouth actually reach the cell. This is natural chelation, not packaging marketing. It is basic biochemistry that never made it onto any supplement label, because no supplement can patent a wild plant that plants itself. Now I need to show you the evidence that nobody uses to defend this plant, because it is devastating to the useless weed narrative. The Tollund man, 1950, Denmark. Researchers find a human body preserved in a peat bog for 2,400 years. The state of preservation is so perfect that it was initially reported as a recent crime to local police. When archaeologists precisely analyze the stomach contents, what do they find? This man's last meal, consumed just hours before his death, was composed primarily of Chenopodium album seeds. No imported spinach was found. No certified organic kale was found. What was found was the plant you today call a weed, the Eastern Agricultural Complex of North America. 5,000 years before Christ, indigenous peoples cultivated domesticated varieties of Chenopodium as a basic food crop, before corn, before beans, before any other crop the school textbook mentions when talking about American agriculture. When European colonizers arrived with their monoculture model, their notions of agricultural civilization, and their certified seeds, this knowledge was progressively displaced, ridiculed, and finally herbicided out of existence. The erasure was not gradual, it was surgical, and it left traces in agrochemical patent archives. Now for the practical part, because knowledge without execution is merely an elegant collection of curiosities. How to identify? First sign: the white powder. The young leaves of Chenopodium album display a powdery coating of whitish-green color, as if they had been lightly dusted with fine flour. This is not dirt, not fungus, not a deficiency. It is a structure of specialized trichomes, part of the plant's metabolic armor against water stress, UV radiation, and pathogens. Nature built a functional sunscreen before any cosmetic laboratory did. Second sign: the leaf shape. The leaves have a diamond to triangular silhouette, with slightly toothed and irregular margins, as if a draftsman from 1950s manuals had traced each outline with a ruler and charcoal pencil. The stem is erect, longitudinally striated, often with reddish and purplish tones at the junctions between branch and stalk. Third sign: the presence. In minimally fertile soil, the plant easily reaches between 1 and 1.5 meters in height. In rich soil with good moisture, I have documented specimens exceeding 2 meters. It does not ask permission to grow, it simply grows. How to consume? The young leaves at the top are the most tender and nutritionally dense. They can be eaten raw in salads. The flavor is mild, slightly earthy, with a minerality that supermarket spinach simply cannot replicate. For those with kidney sensitivity or a history of oxalate stones, quick blanching, 2 to 3 minutes in boiling water, followed by discarding the water. This procedure significantly reduces oxalates without destroying the minerals and vitamins you are seeking. The seeds, harvested at the end of the vegetative cycle, can be sun-dried, ground into flour for use in breads and porridges, or consumed whole as a grain. The flavor is neutral, mildly nutty. The protein density rivals commercial quinoa. Without the price, without the packaging, without the shipping cost, the reproductive cycle, the autonomy the market cannot bear, a single adult plant produces up to 70,000 seeds per cycle. These seeds maintain germination viability for up to 40 years in the soil. It does not need you to plant it. It does not need special substrate, seedling trays, barcodes, or distribution logistics. It needs soil, and for you to simply stop spraying it. There is a word I need to use with technical precision, not as a poetic metaphor. Technical emancipation. For generations, the equation was built like this. You depend on the seed industry to plant, on the agrochemical industry to grow, on the processing industry to eat, and on the pharmaceutical industry to compensate for what processed food does not deliver. Each link in this chain has a price, each price has a beneficiary, and the entire model only works as long as you cannot see the chain, as long as you believe the dependence is inevitable, that the supplement is necessary, that the weed is the enemy. Chenopodium album breaks that chain at the most fundamental point of all. It does not need you to exist. It is already there. The question was never one of availability. The question was always one of recognition. 320 million people across 4 continents do not wait for validation from any health influencer, from any indexed nutrition journal, from any study funded by a pharmaceutical laboratory. They recognize, harvest, and eat. And they do not appear in the statistics of magnesium deficiency. The Tollund man did not take supplements. The peoples of the Eastern agricultural complex had no multivitamin distribution logistics. They had something infinitely more sophisticated, the ability to read the territory where they lived and extract from it, with ancestral precision, what the body needed to function in sovereignty. That is the software of nature running without failures, without paid updates, without a monthly subscription renewed on a credit card. What was sold to you as nutritional evolution is for the most part the expensive, imperfect, and dependency-creating reconstruction of something the planet already offered for free. And the reason you do not hear this on packaging, in doctors' offices, and in the algorithms of your feeds is one. Information that makes you genuinely independent does not generate recurring revenue. It never did. It never will. Your vegetable garden can be a declaration of territorial sovereignty. Your backyard can be a functional pharmacy that never closes, has no queue, and has no price. The plant your neighbor is pulling out with gloves and herbicide today may be the most efficient magnesium supplement you will ever need to buy. The choice is not between the old and the modern, not between the primitive and the scientific. It is between managed dependence and the technical emancipation that was always available, growing silently at the edge of your wall, waiting patiently for someone to stop calling a weed what their ancestors called food. You have just received the dossier. The next step is to leave here and look at your backyard with different eyes.